like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinnier than all the other days. Sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. front and hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption. Breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out. Be carefree lately, yeah. Just picking up daisies. Got one too many quarters in my pockets. Counting like the four-leaf clovers in my locket. Untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on daydreams. Got dirty little lullabies playing on repeat. Might as well just ride around the nursery and count sheep.
In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you,
Hello racing fans, and welcome to round 4 of season 16 Odyssey Racing League GT Americas. My name is Christian Julian. I also go by Koju here. And today we do have a wet and slippery one here at the Hungaroring. Very nice circuit, super quick and flowy. However, this rain is going to present quite a challenge to some of these drivers. On board right now with the number 34 McLaren, driven by Jag Flores, who was the winner of our third round last week, held at Snetterton. This does look like it's going to be the beginning of Jag's flying lap, as we do see that qualifying has begun for the rookie drivers here for round 4. So talking a little bit about Hungaroring, as we get to see the beautiful rainy sights as Jag goes through turns 2 and 3 here. So Hungaroring, located in Mogorjord, I believe that's how it's pronounced. I know I'm pronouncing it 100% wrong, so please excuse my American accent. That is located in the country of Hungary, and the Hungaroring is 4.3 kilometers long. It's about 2.7 miles, or freedom units as some of you like to call it. 14 turns here, very flowy, medium speed corners a la galore here. So especially in the dry, this is a track that shreds tires. 27 souls in our occupying our grid slots for today. 7 pros, 5 AMs or silver drivers, and 15 rookies. We can tell the difference by looking at the left side of our screen, and as we can see, the number P15 is highlighted. So we see Jag Flotus, and it's a number 30. He's the number 34 car, and there's a red background for him. So that designates Jag here as a rookie. The silver drivers will have a silver background, and our pro drivers will have a white background. As we do see Jag crossing the finish line in provisional pole 2 for the rookies here. Jag's fastest time, 153.432. We didn't see Robert Logan cross the finish line, but we can see him at the top, 153.367 for Robert Logan, so less than a tenth of a second. As we see more times start populating the board there. Now, normally in league races, you have a specific, I wouldn't say like a meta, right? But you do have cars that are stronger on certain tracks than others. So this track specifically, cars that will do very well in medium speed, low to medium speed, are going to be the winners here. Now, when you add the rain, that adds so much more. It changes up your strategy a little bit, and it changes up the meta as well. So in my opinion, normally you would see mid-engine cars doing a lot better and a lot fairer here at the Hungaroring, but with the included rain, I think the front-engine cars are going to be the ones that are going to be at an advantage here. Still on board with the number 34, driven by Jag Flores. However, we are going to be hopping around as we do see Alexander Altericio in the number 699 Ford Mustang screaming his way to the top, 153.082 for him, followed by Robbie Sort of Asian in the number 169 Lamborghini. Josh Rodriguez, the standings leader for the rookies, able to get on the podium now, the number 93 Honda, fastest time for him, 153.330. Now, interestingly enough, for the rookies, there is only an 8-point difference between P1 and P2, so that would be P1 Josh Rodriguez and P2 Jag Flores after 3 rounds so far here at Odyssey Racing. So that 8-point difference, it's all one driver needs to do is just be better. They don't even have to win the race, they just have to score on top of them. So that means, and with that, that also does mean that the championship is open for the rookies. On board now with the number 660 McLaren and Tim Gargle Some Water. And speaking of that as well, with the nice splash livery on the side, very, very fitting for today's weather forecast. Still looking at the times, it doesn't look like the top of the board has changed. However, we do have some change up in the middle. Anthony Camacho in the number 7 BMW for S&B Racing. Going now through the last couple of turns, I believe that's turns 12 and 13 now, the nice little sweeping U-turn. We'll see if Anthony does improve. We do see Ryan Bishop improving up into P8, as well as Martin Bilon Tassi as well, improving up a spot. 12 minutes and 20 seconds left in qualifying. So that does mean that, well, normally the way we have our qualifying here is we do have it set up for 21 minutes. 10 minutes would be for the rookies, followed by 1 minute of cooldown, and then another 10 minutes for the pros and AMs to go out. So that does leave 2 minutes left for the amateurs here on the track. So as long as they cross that finish line before that timer ends, they are allowed to finish their qualifying lap. However, the pros and the AMs are going to be very eager to get on track, so I know, and I can hear them already lining up at the pit exit getting ready to go. Tim gargles some water, moving up into P6, right behind Jag Flores. 153.617 for Tim. Barely kept out of the top 5 by Jag. Jag with a 153.380, so 0.3 of a second. All that is one little wheel slip here in one of these puddles, and that's 0.5 right there. Still leading the rookies in provisional pole 1, Alexander Altericio, the 699 Ford Mustang. Oh, and an unfortunate wipeout by Tim gargles some water. So let's move over to Ryan Bishop in the number 778 McLaren. Ryan Bishop in P8 overall and electing to end his qualifying lap. So that's the end of his lap. Let's move over to Mark DC. Mark in the number 333 Bentley, or as some drivers like to call it, the Boatley. And unfortunately, the commentator's curse strikes again. Mark DC unfortunately losing the back end coming out of turn, I believe that's 10. No, excuse me, turns 9 into turn 10. And so then that ends his qualifying run. Moving over to the number 617 Ford Mustang and Shane Sullivan. P13 for Shane so far. He is still finishing up this bound lap, so let's see how he does. And I do hear the horns of war sounding in the pit lane, so the pros and the AMs are getting ready to rumble and rush out of the pits. Still on board with the number 617 Ford Mustang. Oh, it is getting very wet out there, Jack. It's going to be a very slippery one. Shane Sullivan crossing the finish line. Unfortunately, unable to improve his time, so that's going to be putting Shane Sullivan in P11 for the rookies. Moving on over to the pros and AMs who have already left the pits, ready to show their stuff. On board with the number 4 McLaren, Nate Schreiber for King Koopa Racing. In the nice Bowser oil livery. Now, one of the things that we also have to take into consideration here for Hungaroring is that in the rain here, we have to take into account that the possibility of track limits. So drivers not being able to stop in time, going a little bit too fast maybe into certain corners, maybe hitting one of those candy cane strips there on the side and unfortunately taking a little spin into the wall. And that might end up giving you a track cut here. So in the rain, track cuts after you get your 3 warnings, and if you cut the track again while gaining time, you will be given a drive-through penalty. In our Tuesday after-hour season, I was unfortunately the one that got the drive-through. However, there were a lot of drivers as well that were very close to getting that drive-through, so that is going to be something that these drivers are going to have to worry about. The pros and AMs, not so much as the rookies, just in the sense that the pros and AMs have gotten more rain races under their belts. However, it can strike to anybody. Even as a pro, you can take a corner a little too deep and have a terrible time out there. So the number 4 car looks like is going to be the first one to get their qualifying time. So we're going to keep an eye on Nate Schreiber here. One of the things that we can also talk about as well is the standings for the amateur drivers here, as we're keeping an eye on Nate Schreiber. Not only are the amateur or the silver drivers on the track, the pros are on the track as well, but we are going to be giving the silvers a little bit of love here tonight. So leading the silver or amateur drivers in the league championship is Mr. Ian Demler. Was able to win round 1 and round 2. and that does put him at 102 total points. However, the driver right under him in P2 has 96 points, and that's Rob Obrojcha. Both drivers here tonight, so they're going to be battling for the lead of the silver drivers tonight here at round 4. For Odyssey Racing League GT Americas. Nate Schreiber passing the final turn, crossing the finish line. Let's see where that puts him. And that is the first time on the board for the silvers. That puts Nate Schreiber in provisional pole 6 with a 153.527 for Nate. A couple of drivers as well. Another pro driver there moving on up. As we see the pros as well getting their times in. That puts Timothy Jarubal in the 531 McLaren, right above his teammate Tyler Carr, to round off the top 3. That is actually a top 3 for the 3 teammates of the RaceForge Esports team: Alexander Altericio, Timothy Jarubal, and Tyler Carr. Well, Tyler Carr, as we can see, crossing turns 4 here in the RaceForge Esports car. It's a very nice car. It's a white, blue, and yellow car. As he takes a little bit of a Ford Mustang turn there. Losing the back end, but able to keep it very nice on the track. This car, driving that car very nicely. A couple of other names coming up here on the screen. Levi Jennings in the number 54 Nissan GTR for Cerberus Virtual Racing on almost in the podium spot there. Oh, wow. The difference in time between Levi Jennings, who we are on board with, and Tyler Carr in the number 3 Ford Mustang. Both drivers with a 152.12. The only thing that separates them is 5/1000ths of a second. I think that is like a blink of an eye, if I'm not mistaken. That is incredible. So this rain is going to make a huge difference in how these drivers fare here at the Hungaroring. Tyler Carr improving their time, 151.597 now, taking that top podium spot away from his teammate. However, it is still another podium a podium spot steal from the RaceForge Esports teammate Timothy Jarubal, now in the lead. And it does look like it's just a punching match between all 3 teammates there at the top. Levi Jennings improving his time as well. The number 54 Nissan now in podium, on the podium spot, taking it away from the rookie teammate of the RaceForge Esports team. Levi Jennings now in P3, 151.942 for him. And as I say that, Alex Hansen in the number 390 Honda, able to get a nice clean lap in there. The nice blue and gold livery there for Wet Tires Racing. Great time for him in a 151.360 in arguably one of the harder cars to drive in this game, the Honda NSX. A couple of other drivers as well. Rob Obrojcha, the silver leader, or excuse me, the contender for the silver lead here. He's in P2 for the silver drivers, the AM drivers. Number 331 Ferrari. Fastest time for him, 152.762. That puts him in provisional pole 6. And the leader for the silver drivers here. 2 minutes, 30 seconds left in qualifying, though. There's still enough time for all of these drivers to improve their time. Coming across the second to last hairpin, the number 19 McLaren, driven by Drew Jensen for DJ Motorsports, now through the final turn, putting down the power. Can he get across the finish line and improve his time? He does not improve his time, unfortunately. Still 1 minute, 26 seconds left. That is enough time for a final lap for Mr. Drew Jensen here. Moving over to Dean Solomon, who's also on a valid lap. The number 59 Porsche, driven by the Canadian driver. Screaming past us here. So we do have a leader missing. Our leader for the pro standings, Luke Lizama, is unfortunately absent tonight. So that's going to be giving Tyler Carr, depending on where he places, a very... Actually, that might put him in the lead. So Tyler Carr with 96 total points for the championship. Luke Lizama, 104. So this will put Tyler Carr, depending on where he finishes, in the provisional lead for the pro standings. There are 2 rounds after this. So it's going to be, looks like it's for the pro championship at least. It's going to be a battle to the very bitter end. And that's the really great thing here about Odyssey Racing League. No matter what level you are at, whether you are a pro, amateur, or a rookie, you'll always find competition here. Dean Solomon crossing the finish line. Unfortunately not able to improve his time. That leaves Dean Solomon in P6. However, his teammate in Derek Anderson still on a valid flyer. Number 31 BMW for Backroad GT Racing. Let's see if they can improve. Our provisional leader, Timothy Jadubal, elected to finish his qualifying time, so he is now in the pits, as well as Alex Hansen. They have thrown in the towel for the ending of their qualifying time, and they are now in the pit lane, getting refueled, recharged, checking their skittles and their mentals before they go out there on the track for a wet race tonight. Derek Anderson crossing the finish line, not able to improve their time as well, staying in P10. So it does look like the top of the standings leaderboard will stay the same. In P1, Timothy Jadubal. In P2, Alex Hansen. P3, Tyler Carr. P4, Levi Jennings. And P5, Alexander Altericio. That is your top 5 for tonight. We will go to a quick intermission. Let these drivers rest up a little bit, get ready for the starting grid walk. As well, don't be afraid to go grab a drink, get a little stretch, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the starting grid walk for Season 16 GT America's Round 4 Hungaroring. After our qualifying session here tonight, we do have a 45-minute race for you with a mandatory pit stop for the drivers here, so they are going to have to take mandatory fuel. Tires are not required, but it is up to them if they want to take it. In P1 for tonight, your leader at the top of the standings, the number 531 McLaren, driven by Timothy Jarubal for Race 4 G Sports. Right behind him in P2, the number 390 Honda, driven by Alex Hansen for Wet Tires Racing. In P3, Tyler Carr for Race 4 G Sports, the white, blue, and yellow car, driven by Tyler Carr, who's a pretty fast car. In P4, Levi Jennings, the number 54 Nissan for Cerberus Virtual Racing. In P5, Alexander Altericio, the number 699 Ford Mustang for Race 4 G Sports. In P6, the number 59 Porsche for Backroad GT Racing, driven by Dean Solomon. As well as I forgot to mention Alexander Altericio, your leader for the rookies right now. Your leader for the silver drivers, and in P7 overall, the number 331 Ferrari, driven by Rob Obrochta for Goral Motorsports. In P8, the number 157 Nissan, driven by Emmanuel Ramirez for Alpha Sim Racing. Nate Schreiber coming in at P9, the number 4 McLaren for King Koopa Racing. And right next to him to finish off your top 10, this Derek Anderson in the number 31 BMW for Backroad GT Racing. On screen now, the number 169 Lamborghini Huracan Evo. They just call it the Evo, and they just keep adding Evo to it. Robbie Sorta Asian for Forward Onto Don Racing. In P12, the number 93 Honda with the very nice Red Bull livery there, driven by Josh Rodriguez for Red Bull Racing. In P13, Robert Logan for ORL Dragon Endurance. Is the number 83 Porsche to be exact. Jag Flores, the number 34 McLaren in P14. The winner of our last round in round 3 is going to have a little bit of pressure on his plate here, but let's see how he chows down tonight. In P15, the number 670 McLaren, driven by Tim Gargles from Water. In P16, we have Ian Demler, the number 13 McLaren. In P17, Drew Jensen, the number 19 McLaren for DJ Motorsports. In P18, the number 987 BMW, driven by Carl Banning for Team Crazy 8s. In P19, Ryan Bishop, the number 778 McLaren for Route 2 in P19. And right behind him, P20, Anthony Camacho for SNB Racing, the number 7 BMW in P20. In P21, Martin Pilon Tasse, number 6 Ferrari. In P22, Shane Sullivan, the number 617 Ford Mustang. In P23, we have the 333 Mark DC, driving the Bentley here. In P24, the number 105 McLaren, driven by Jean-Francois Drapeau. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Please message me and tell me how bad that was. I will 100% accept. Even if you curse at me, I'll accept it. In P24, the number 666 Bentley, driven by Brian Acombe. In P25, the number 45 BMW, driven by Chad McLean. Chad with a quali ban tonight for that car change, so that's going to put him in a tough spot to start with, especially behind everyone during a race rain. In P26, Ryan Chanley, the number 67 Camel Aston Martin for C7 Racing. And last but not least, Mr. Levi Jennings, who unfortunately has to drop to the pits there. So that's going to be dropping him a lot of spots. So it is raining, as we can see here on our screen. 31 degrees Celsius. Ambient 36 degrees on the track. It's a little hot for rain, but it is what it is. As we see the drivers line up side by side and get ready to finish, or to get, to finish their parade lap and get round 4 underway. So hopefully these camera angles will do this justice. There are a lot of elevation changes here at Hungaroring, so these drivers are going to have not just other drivers to worry about, but also the track, especially if they have not driven here a lot before. As we see the drivers line up now side by side coming down the start-finish straight. We're going to wait for that green flag and those green lights to turn green to signal the start of the round. And there it is, the green flag drops, and away we go for round 4 of GT America Season 16. A great run by the McLaren there of Timothy Jadobal, the number 531 on the inside. Alex Hansen not giving up the spot, though, and a move on the inside for the number 3 Ford Mustang, however, keeping it clean. Single file, looks like in the front, but everyone side by side in the back. There was 2 side by sides, if not 3 wide coming into turn 1. That is an orange McLaren, I think that is, that's the Lamborghini of Robbie, sort of Asian, turned around there at the end of turn 1. So now coming into turn 2, a couple of drivers going a little bit deep. That's the number 987 BMW going a little bit deep there into turns 3. That's Carl Banning, unfortunately braking too late and losing a couple spots there. Now side by side battle between the BMW and the Ferrari there, as we do see Nate Schreiber go off there, and the number 699 Ford Mustang taking advantage there. Maybe Dean Solomon might have accidentally pushed someone off and just gave the spot away. A little bit interesting there, but we do see yellow flags going off around everywhere as cars are flying off the track. You see Timothy Jadobal getting a very nice lead there. It's a 3-second lead for him now, taking advantage of the chaos that was in the beginning. Jack Floda is less than half a second behind Robert Logan now. Jack Floda is trying to make his way to the top of the rookies, trying to fight for the win here, so he can also lead the championship standings. So a little bit of chaos in the beginning, but it does look like everything has settled down now. As we do see, actually, yes. So a red flag was called here. So we do have a red flag here for round 4 of Odyssey Racing League GT America. So that does mean that all the drivers must now return to the pits, as a restart will be given, as a restart will be handed out, and penalties as well being handed out if any will occur. So we're going to go to a quick intermission. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. We are red flagged at the moment, and we will come back with a restart. All right, racing fans. So, to talk a little bit more about Season 16 here at Odyssey Racing League, in case you haven't heard of us, or even maybe would like to join us here. So we do have 3 different days that we do race here at ORL. So we do have GT America's After Hours, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have what we are viewing and enjoying tonight, our GT America's Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do also have GT Europe, Sundays at 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time. As well as our calendar here for Season 16, Round 4 Hungaroring. Next week, we do have a 1-hour race, so that's going to be 60 minutes of non-stop action there at the very, very tight technical track Brands Hatch. And then after that, we do have our final round in Round 6, which is going to be a track vote by the drivers. So the drivers are going to be able to vote amongst themselves for that final track. Now, we have been watching this little track walkthrough a little bit, but one of the things that this track walkthrough doesn't show is the elevation changes that does happen between turns 1 and 2 there. Turn 1 being hairpin and turn 2 being the tight turn in the middle. Coming up into turn 4, Blind Man. The track changes a little bit there. It's going to be a very medium speed, very flowy as they go through turns 9 and 10 VSs. Downhill, actually, into the Superman complex, which is turns 12, and then doing the double hairpins of 13 and 14, or sweeping hairpins of turns 13 and 14, to get back onto the start-finish straight there at the bottom. And it does look like the drivers are ready to go as they are lining up. So we're going to get back to the action there. So in case you are just joining us right now, we did have a red flag situation there at our start here for round 4 of season 16. Unfortunately, the weather did get to some of the drivers there, so we did have to red flag the start, and that would be why we're still on a parade lap here. So the Hungaroring, 14 turns that these drivers are going to have to manage their way through. 4.38 kilometers, also known as 2.7 miles. Very famous track. F1 races here all the time. So many other types of racing happens here as well. From open wheel all the way to prototype. Excuse me, from GT all the way to open wheel. As we see the drivers try to warm up the tires as much as they can for the start here. So we may have to do a helicam for this start here as we keep an eye on the drivers. Here at Odyssey Racing League, we do have strict penalties for turn 1 lap, or lap 1, especially lap 1, turn 1. So that is why the red flag was handed out. Normally the red flag rule here is if at least 1/3 of the field is affected, then a red flag will be called. Hopefully we will not need that life support helicopter there that is getting ready to fly off, as we are seeing the drivers getting ready as well, lining up side by side. They're coming through the start-finish straight, just waiting for the green lights and the green flag to drop, the signal to start the restart of season 16 round 4. There is the green flag, it drops, and the racers go. A great start for Timothy Jadabo, who's able to get off in the middle there. 3 wide, almost 4 wide in the back with the Nissan and Nate Schreiber in there. Coming out of turn 1, looks pretty relatively clean this time. Moving on back though, a couple drivers going off there, unfortunately going a little too deep into turn 1, not having their tires or their brakes warm enough, which will heavily affect them going in, and a contact being made by the number 4 and the Nissan GTR. That is the number 157, driven by Emmanuel Ramirez, unfortunately getting a huge shunt from the back by Mr. Nate Schreiber here. Side by side there was Robert Logan and Ian Demler coming into the very, very tight turn of turns 4. Number 83 Porsche unfortunately losing that position to the number 13 McLaren. That's going to move him up a spot now. Moving on down now, the number 617 Ford Mustang up into P17 now. Looks like a little bit of damage there on the front end splitter for him. So he may have gotten a little bit of an accordion effect. A drive-through handed out to the number 67 Aston Martin. A drive-through penalty will mean that you, the driver, have to drive through the pit lane. You do not have to stop. But that will make you lose some spots. Moving on up, though, to the number 59 Porsche. Dean Solomon right on the back bumper of Alexander Altericio. On the inside now, contact being made. Unfortunately, the vortex of death sucks in the number 59 Porsche, who thought he saw an open door and unfortunately was not able to get in there in time. Slowing down a little bit, waiting for that Ford Mustang to take that position back, but unfortunately a lot of other drivers are also taking advantage of this and they do not have to stop. So the number 59, it looks like, electing to take a drive-through or maybe taking too much damage in that shunt and is now going into the pits now. Jack Flood is right behind the number 159 Lamborghini. Going a little bit too deep. It looks like it may have accidentally pushed off that Lamborghini. Both cars losing spots now, as we do see the Honda of, I believe that's Josh Rodriguez, spinning out in the background there in turn 1. So that may unfortunately be caught out. Just seeing sometimes like you just brake a little bit too much and then you just tense. And here in the rain, if you brake a little too much and you lose that traction, that's it. You're done. Side by side coming into that turn, and contact, triple contact being made. 2 cars being thrown to the left and a car there at the exit. That's the car of Tyler Carr, I believe. Yeah, that's number 3 Ford Mustang. That was Ian Demler in the number 13 McLaren, and I believe Nate Schreiber as well in the number 4 McLaren. Unfortunately, all 3 of them getting collected in that maneuver there at the end of the exit of turn 4 coming into turn 5. That is not the way to go. The number 83 Porsche, driven by Robert Logan for ORL Dragon Endurance, moving on up into P7 now. And unfortunately, the commentator's curse comes, and he smacks the wall, and that's going to be a little bit of damage there. Unfortunately, the powers of God and anime could not save him tonight from the wet and slippery conditions that are round 4 here at the Hungaroring. Moving over, Levi Jevnings, the number 54 Nissan, on the back bumpers of their 930 Honda. Are both drivers able to keep it on track as well as keep it tight coming into turn 2? Both drivers staying on the racing line, very nice and tight. The number 331 Ferrari and that BMW, the 31 BMW behind them, are also in contention for this fight. In the rain, the distances that you have to worry about increase. So drivers that are within 2 seconds let's say arbitrary number 2 seconds, are more deadlier in the rain than if it was 2 seconds in the dry, just because of the amount of time that it might take you to recover or get back on the track if you lose traction and go off. Coming into the tight chicane sections of turns 6 and 7 now, with the fast sweeper section now of turns 8 and 9. Is Levi Jennings able to stay on the back bumper of Alex Hansen? We'll see now. Only time will tell. 39 minutes, 56 seconds left in the race. We do have a pit window coming up, so drivers are going to have to dive into the pit lane and take their mandatory fuel. Lots of battles happening here. The battle-scarred number 157 Nissan, driven by Manuel Ramirez, still staying in the fight, trying to defend as much as he can against the number 699 Ford Mustang and Alexander Altericio, who unfortunately had a tumble down the stats now into P15 for him. However, Alexander is a pretty quick driver, so we do expect him to make up some of these spots coming up in the next couple of turns. A lot of front-end damage for some of these cars, and back-end damage for the number 7 BMW there. So it may have looked like an accordion effect have happened, and unfortunately the number 7 turns into the racing line as if the number 157 wasn't even there, and that throws the 157 into the wall, and that is a wipeout. Tossing him aside like a spent credit card. Not a care in the world. That is not going to be something the stewards are going to look at favorably. Penalties being handed out now. As you can see at the bottom of right of our screen, penalties being handed out to the number 987 and to the 666. On board, Chad McLean, the number 45 BMW. Car on his inside, but he's able to take that spot into P14 now. Can Chad McLean hold on to this position going into the next couple of turns? As we do see a gaggle of cars right behind him. Checking in on the McLaren sandwich here. The number 105 McLaren, driven by Jean-Francois, able to take the spot away from the Nissan, who had trouble on the exit there. The number 105 McLaren moving on up into P16. Sullivan DT, yes, unfortunately Sullivan was given a DT. I believe he has completed his DT now. Actually, I believe he retired. I do not see... Actually, no. I say corrected. Sullivan in P9 right now, in P10, but handed out a drive-through. As we see lots of... multiple drive-throughs being handed out, and multiple being 2. Another drive-through being handed out to the number 323 in Mark DC. 10-second time penalty to the number 987. A stop-go 30 to the number 6. And a 5-second penalty to the number 666. So these penalties have to be... before, since the pit window hasn't opened yet, you have to take these penalties during your pit stop. Unless these drive-thrus, you can't do your drive-thrus at the same time as your pit stop. So the drive-thrus are going to have to get rid of those right away. As we do see Shane Sullivan in the pits, he was completing his drive-thru, so that's going to be clearing his penalty. Stop-go 30 was speeding in the pit lane. Oh no. Actually, I'm being handed a stewarding sheet. So let me see if we can get some more information on some of these penalties being handed out, as we are on board still with the number 54 Nissan GTR driven by Levi Jennings. And with that, the pit window is now open, so the drivers can elect when they want to take their pit stop within that window. However, it has to be within the window, as the number 19 Drew Jensen tries to make a move on the inside, trying to pass Jean-Francois. Unfortunately, not able to get side by side in the braking zone, and does give that spot up. May have been a little bit of contact between the number 778 and the number 105 here on our screens. The McLarens battling it out for position here on the track. A very slippery track, I might add, here at the Hungaroring. It's going to be testing the limits of some of these drivers here. Drew Jensen getting a little bit of a squirrely exit, not able to catch up to that 105, creating, unfortunately, some space between them now. Moving on up. Our leader, Timothy Jadubal, taking a nice little stroll. We do see the car of Alex Hansen not too far off, 2.5 seconds, so around 2.5 seconds. So if Timothy makes a tiny little mistake, Alex can capitalize that, especially here on the in the rain, and make up that for that lost time. However, Alex may have to think, do I want to attack or do I want to defend? Because Alex only has a second between him and Levi Jennings. Yes, unfortunately, Tyler Carr was part of a triple car incident coming out of turn 4 and into turn 5. Him and 2 other cars got swept up together and unfortunately took a tumble, and that threw him down a bunch of spots there, unfortunately. It has not been an amazing day for the Race 4G Sports team. However, 31 minutes, 50 seconds left in the race. More than enough time to make up for lost spots. I do sit corrected. I do mean the teammates of Mr. Timothy Jadubal, who has been in P1 for a pretty long time. However, his teammates in Tyler Carr and Alexander Altericio not having a good of a day as he is. Carl Banning for crazy 8s and the number 987 BMW. A little bit of front end damage there. So that is going to be slowing him down, or slowing down his top speed there. He is, let's see if he does elect to go in the pits. Looks to stay out. So the number 987 is still going to stay out. 10-second time penalty for them, unfortunately, as well. So maybe they are trying to make up for those 10 seconds. Moving over, P9 Excuse me, P10 for Robert Logan, who lost a spot to Alexander Altericio. Robert Logan as well with some front-end damage. That Porsche can... I think it handles the damage a little bit better. However, I mean, it is the rain. Rain does so many different things to your car. The number 390 Honda and Alex Hansen given a 10-second time penalty. So that will most probably, and by most probably, like I'm 90% sure that is going to knock Alex Hansen out of the top 5 at least. And that is, I would not be happy about that. Now, since cars are going to be diving into the pits, races for position are going to be a little bit more scarce throughout the track. However, we're going to try to bring them to you as fast as possible, as we do see Emmanuel Ramirez going through turns 13 and now 14 in the battle-scarred Nissan GTR. However, able to keep it on track very nicely. It does look like, oh, the 660, unfortunately, going a little bit too deep into turn 1, losing spots. I believe Tim Gargles from Water was in P7, if not P8. Unfortunately, losing spots now. Yeah, he was in P8. Now, unfortunately, down to P10. Towards the bottom of the tree, we do see Josh Rodriguez, Jean-Francois, and Tyler Carr with green squares next to their plate number or their car number. That does mean that they have completed their mandatory pit stop. Drivers with the orange background white number, it's usually a 1. That means that they still have to complete their mandatory pit stop, that 1-for-1 pit stop. As we do see the number 617 and Shane Sullivan, unfortunately off the track in turns 8 and 9. So it's going to be a yellow flag for that sector there. And this is going to be the part of the race where drivers are going to be feeling a little bit better about themselves in the rain and might let their guard down a tiny amount. And if you let it down too much here, especially on those candy cane strips that we see, those red and white strips on the side of the track, sometimes those things are really dangerous. You least expect it. You will lose traction if you even touch your gas pedal on those. You have to be so careful accelerating out. Number 699 Ford Mustang and Alexander Altericio trying to make a move around the outside of the chicane there. Unfortunately, not able to make it through, as the Lamborghini of Robbie Sorta Asian, number 169 Lamborghini to be exact, able to make it through that chicane. Nice. Tight. Alexander Altericio with a great exit coming out of the last turn, coming into the braking zone of turn 1, side by side along the Lamborghini. However, elects to let the Lamborghini through, which may have been a smart move, because in this rain, a tiny little slip up and you can accidentally take yourself and another driver out. But this is going to be a very, very strong battle between both, a very big battle between both strong drivers. As we keep an eye on the fight for P6 here, we can move on down as well for the fight for the top 10. Anthony Camacho and the number 7 BMW trying to fight his way up into the top 10. Right behind Emmanuel Ramirez in the Nissan GTR right in front of him. Both drivers still have not completed their pit stop, so that might end up changing the way this battle ends up. Robert Logan unfortunately given a drive-through for the track limits. Those are the track limits that I so desperately couldn't avoid either this past Tuesday night. I unfortunately also hit the drive-through limits here at the Hungaroring in the rain. It is such a slippery track. We do see the number 699 Ford Mustang of Alexander joining the fight here now as well. Anthony Camacho unfortunately does have a 10-second time penalty. So that will be adding 10 seconds onto his pit stop. Robert Logan diving into the pits to get rid of that drive-through. I don't see any more drive-throughs. The rest of them are time second penalties. That's going to be throwing Robert Logan, unfortunately, down some spots now into P11 for Robert Logan. That does move Anthony Camacho up into P8, Alexander Altericio in P9, Drew Jensen in P10. As of right now, your leader for the race, Timothy Jadubal, in the number 531 McLaren for Race Forge Esports. In P2, Levi Jennings, the Nissan GTR for Cerberus Virtual Racing. P3, Alex Hansen, number 390 Honda. P4, Rob O'Rourke for Goral Motorsports. And P5, Robbie Sort of Asian for Ford Onto Don Racing. That is your top 5 right now. 22 minutes and 20 seconds left in the race, though. That top 5 can change. Alex Hansen diving into the pits. That's going to be the number 390 Honda inside of the pit lane. So it looked like Alexander unfortunately went too deep in turn 6 and 7, the chicane. So it looks like he clipped the left side and he slowed down before he was able to get to turn 8. So that allowed the pack of Camacho and Ramirez to catch up to him there. To answer your question, Christopher. So that will be throwing Alex Hansen down a couple of spots, moving Robbie Sort of Asian up into P4. Still some fights going on there in the pits. Alexander Altericio as well going into the pits. As we see cars finishing up their mandatory pit stop. We're going to see a lot more battles, hopefully, unfold here for us tonight. A leader swap. Ryan Chanley is now in the overall lead, the number 67 Aston Martin for C7 Racing in P1. Excuse me, P11. What is going on? Timothy Jadubal, your race leader now in the pits, as well as Levi Jennings diving right behind him. So that is going to be making Rob O'Rourke. Actually, I sit corrected as well. He is also diving into the pits, taking after both Levi Jennings and Timothy Jadobal. So that is going to put Robbie Sort of Asian, if he's able to pass the checkered line before Timothy and Levi get out of the pits, then that's going to put Robbie Sort of Asian in the lead. However, it does look like Levi Jennings might be the first one out. I do see a car moving in the pits. That does look like the number 5. Is that the 531 or 331? I do see the number 83 moving. That's the number 531. So Timothy Jadobal leaving the pit lane as well. Robbie Sort of Asian crossing the finish line. Who's going to be coming out first? It looks like the number 169 does come out in front. So that's going to be putting Robbie Sort of Asian in P1. Timothy Jadobal leaving the pits now into a little bit of traffic in P2. Tim gargles some water. The number 660 McLaren provisional pole 3 right now with 19 minutes and 20 seconds left in the race. However, they have not taken their pit stop. 9 minutes, 12 seconds left in that pit window, however. More than enough time. Racing fans as well, don't be afraid to shout out your favorite drivers, your favorite teams, your favorite cars. I'd love to give them more screen time. Ryan Bishop in the 778 McLaren chasing down Mark DC in the Bentley in front of him. The Bentley Continental, the only right-handed GT3, or right-hand drive GT3, I believe. Ryan Bishop makes a juke to pretend like he's not going to go into the pits, and elects to take his pit stop right behind Mark DC. Have a shout out in the chat to the Raceforge Esports team. As we see them doing fairly well now, Timothy Jadobal, number 531, McLaren for Raceforge Esports in P2 overall. Tyler Carr, the number 3 Ford Mustang in P13. Alexander Altericio, the number 699 Ford Mustang in P14. Still on board with the number 31 BMW, however, right behind him, the number 34 McLaren driven by Jack Flores, who is the standings leader, I believe. Excuse me. I am incorrect. Jack Flores in P2 overall for the rookies. Your leader for the rookies is Josh Rodriguez in the number 93 Honda. Josh Rodriguez, P15 overall, Jack Flores in P10. So that's going to be putting him in a really good spot for those championship points. Adam Pavleko asking for a little bit of Tyler Carr on the screen. We can do that for you. Here is Tyler Carr in the number 3 car, racing for Raceforge Esports. It is a very wet car, so it's going to be a very interesting race for this car. And I hope this car does well driving this car. On board, you say? Off screen there, we weren't able to see it, but on my screen, Jag Flores moving up some spots now. Both Robbie Sort of Asian, Anthony Camacho, and Emmanuel Ramirez all diving into the pits. Ryan Chanley as well. So that's going to be shaking up the top of the tree. As we see Tyler Carr crossing the finish line here on the start-finish straight, coming into turn one. A little bit of a downhill turn, very hard braking zone into a very tight hair, say medium tight hairpin. But then this nice little kink of turn 1A into the hard braking zone of turn 2. That's also downhill and off camber. Makes it a little bit tougher for these drivers, especially in the rain. Into the fast sweeping right-hander of turn 3. And the uphill section of turn 4. So only a couple cars left to complete their mandatory pit stop. It looks like the top of the leaderboards is starting to settle now that all the cars have finished their official mandatory pit stop. Timothy Jadobal, number 531 McLaren, in the lead now with a sizable margin, about 11.5 seconds in front of Levi Jennings, the number 54 Nissan, and Rob Obrorcha, the number 331 Ferrari, rounding off your podium there, your top three. Please do not tap on the commentator's glass. You will scare the commentator. So please save your phrases until later. Drew Jensen, the number 19 McLaren, trying to use his Go-Go Gadget extendo arm on Anthony Camacho, the number 7 BMW in front of him. A little bit of a better exit by the BMW, it looks like it. However, the McLaren, pretty good top speed and acceleration here. However, in the wet, I do believe, and out of personal experience as well, the BMW is a lot better in the wet. However, a deep dive by Drew Jensen. The number 19 McLaren goes a little too deep and unfortunately takes a nice little splish splash there. Part of his morning routine, splashing his face there. I'm kidding, please. Yeah, oh my goodness. I forgot I even said that. So that is going to give Anthony Camacho and the number 7 BMW a little bit more breathing room there, as he doesn't have to worry about defending as much. However, Josh Rodriguez and the number 93, as we did see, I believe that was the Aston Martin. Yeah, that was the Aston Martin, unfortunately taking a little bit of a dip into the grass there. And now I see, great save by the Aston Martin. The broadcaster / commentator's curse almost affecting him. However, he was able to pull out and save the car. What a great save by Ryan Chandler there, the number 67 Aston Martin. Splish splash, he was taking a bath. Yes, he was. And unfortunately, it wasn't bath time. Alexander Altericio giving up that spot to Josh Rodriguez, who's going around him relatively quickly. Now a three-way battle happening between Josh Rodriguez, Alexander Altericio, and Drew Jensen. Drew Jensen a little bit farther ahead, about a second ahead, but that's only a turn, like one turn here at the Hungaroring. So Alexander Altericio on the offense now. He does have the 666 Bentley behind him. However, that is not a battle for position. Staying on board with this battle here. Nice single file braking line between all of the drivers here. the number 105 McLaren in Jean-Francois catching up to Chad McLean, but unfortunately given a drive-through, so he's going to have to dive into the pits to get rid of that penalty, and that's going to be Jean-Francois, unfortunately the number 105 McLaren, losing spots there. And that is the closing of our official pit window. So drivers are allowed to go into the pits if they do choose to repair or to get rid of penalties. However, they had to have completed their mandatory pit stop for fuel during that pit window. As you do see the number 699 gaining a spot there, as well as Ryan Shanley able to slip on through. Alex Hansen in the number 390 on the back bumper of the 331 Ferrari driven by Rob Rocha. Both of these drivers not in the same class, Rob being a amateur or silver driver and Alex being a gold driver. However, here at Odyssey Racing League on the track, racing is racing. You're allowed to race anyone outside of your class as long as it is for position, and this is for position between both drivers here. The Honda NSX, not an enjoyer of curbs normally. However, here at Hungaroring, you want to abuse the curbs as much as possible. Now, the rain makes it even tougher on how much you can, as we do see a squirrely little exit there for Alex Hansen. Able to keep it nice, calm, cool, and collected on the track. However, if that was me, I would have 100% spun off there. A move being made on the inside. The number 390 tried to make a move on the inside, may have made it stick, and able to take that P3 spot against the number 331 Ferrari, who unfortunately saw that move being made, broke a little either too hard or off the racing line, and that pushes him outside of the turn there, of turn 13, I believe. Yes, turn 13. So that gives Alex Hansen enough time and grip to get on the inside and take that spot away. So now Alex Hansen into the top three. A yellow flag out for the 666, as you can see on our map. So that's going to be creating a yellow flag scenario for that section of the track there. As we're still on board, a little bit of a squirrely back end for Alex Hansen here. However, still able to keep his third position. Number 390 Honda fighting for his life. However, I do hear some fighting going on over here. Tyler Carr making a diving move on the inside of turn 1, taking away that spot from the number 169 Lamborghini. Ford Mustang, a lot better front long what's it called, a better drag speed, able to get to turn 1 a lot quicker than the Lamborghini, which is what he was able to do, especially with that slipstream, and that's going to give him a little bit of a cushion there in front of the Lamborghini. That may have been some contact there between the number 7 and the McLaren there. That's the McLaren of 7. That's the McLaren of Ryan Bishop. That's the number 778 McLaren. Unfortunately, with a little bit of a bumper kiss to the Ford Mustang. However, it does look like the Ford Mustang, not really any damage, just a little bit of dirt on the front end there. However, all that dirtiness could be hiding some damage, so we'll see. The only person that would know that would be Tyler Carr, who is in the car right now. Oh no, that's a drive-through penalty handed out to the number 699 and Alexander Altricio. That is not gonna go well for the RaceForge Esports team. They are not gonna be happy about that. So that is gonna be moving the 699 down, unfortunately, multiple spots. Oh, you're right, Durasso. Robbie Sword Evasion having an excellent race so far. Number 169 Lamborghini in P8 overall. P2 for the rookies. The rookies are being led by Jack Flores and the number 34 McLaren, who's P5 overall. However, is in the lead for the red plates. Only 4 minutes left in the race, so all Jack Flores has to do is stay in the lead here for the rookies. Josh Rodriguez trying to apply the pressure to the number 7 BMW here in the S's. However, pressures for tires, and the number 7 is not feeling it right now. Number 93 Honda desperately trying to get back up into at least the top 3 for the rookies for those championship points. Because if the race were to end right now, it does look like the number 34 McLaren in Jack Flores will be winning for the rookies and will be in the lead for the championship standings for the rookies as well. Alex Hansen, fastest time on the track here for Odyssey Racing League Season 16, Round 4. 152.560 is the fastest time for them. A valid time as well, excuse me. With the race almost at an end, 2 minutes and 18 seconds left. Some battles are popping up all over our screen. Tim gargles some water, the number 660 McLaren, trying to catch up to Alexander Altricio, who unfortunately is now in P15 due to that drive-through penalty that he had. So that's going to be putting him in a spot of traffic. On the inside, Tim gargles some water. On the outside, Alexander, who's going to want it more coming into turn 2. Alexander braking a little bit earlier, allowing Tim to brake in the normal zone. However, unfortunately applying too much pressure. That puts Tim gargle some water along the outside of turn 2 there, which is not where you want to be, and that's going to be giving Alexander Altricio some space and some breathing room now. Moving over, Jean-Francois coming out of turn 1 now, a little bit farther behind the battle that we were just watching, but now the number 105 McLaren fighting their own battle here against this Ford Mustang driven by Shane Sullivan. So many battles happening up on our screen at the same time. Josh Rodriguez along the inside for the final turn as well, trying to make a switcheroo happen. However, the number 7 BMW making their back bumper as wide as possible. So who wants it more with the drag race coming down the start-finish straight? We're going to see who wants it more. Maybe one of these cars brakes a little later than normal, and that might be the strategy here. On the inside, Josh Rodriguez brakes really hard into the braking zone. Number 7 alongside around the outside, actually. Around the outside too much, and unfortunately losing that spot to the 93 Honda, and that is Josh Rodriguez now in P11. Jean-Francois unfortunately making contact with Shane Sullivan there. Both cars going off track in turn 12. And it does look like Jean-Francois giving back the spot to Shane Sullivan. Unfortunate contact happening between both of those drivers, but 10 seconds left in the race. This is going to be the final lap to see if Jean-Francois can take P17 away from Shane. That is the end of our official race time. So as soon as their race leader here crosses the finish line, or gets to the finish line, that's going to be the checkered flag for him, Timothy Jadobal. An excellent performance here for round 4 Odyssey Racing League GT Americas. Coming across the final couple of turns now, the number 7 BMW giving him some space, allowing the leader to cross. All the number 531 has to do now is finish this last turn, and that is going to be the win here for Timothy Jadobal, crossing the final turn, crossing the checkered flag, and taking the win for Race 4 G Sports. Number 531 is your winner for tonight. In P2, right behind him, Levi Jennings, the number 54 Nissan. Crossing the finish line in P2. In P3, Alex Hansen taking the last couple of turns. A couple of drivers have already finished their race as well. The number 7, Anthony Camacho in P12, finishing their race, as well as Robert Logan in P13 finishing their race as well. Crossing the finish line now, the number 390 Honda taking P3 overall and P3 for the pros. Taking your checkered flag in P4, and your winner for the amateur drivers, Rob O'Rourke in the 331 Ferrari, takes the win for the silver drivers. And in P5, to finish off and round off the top 5, Jag Flores, the number 34 McLaren, your winner for the rookies and your overall P5 driver. In P6, crossing the finish line, Tyler Carr, the number 3 Ford Mustang. In P7, right behind him, Derek Anderson, the number 31 BMW. In P8, Robbie Sort of Asian crossing the line. Emmanuel Ramirez, the number 157 Nissan, turns 13. Now coming up on a turn 14, it's going to be in the top 10 for Emmanuel Ramirez. A great recovery drive from him. Crossing through the finish line, 'tis but a flesh wound, as we can see the front end flapping a little bit there in the wind. However, crossing the finish line in the top 10, P9 for Emmanuel Ramirez. And right behind him, to round off your top 10, Drew Jensen for DJ Motorsports. And that is the end of Season 16, Round 4 for GT Americas here at Odyssey Racing League. Congratulations to your overall winner, Timothy Jadobal. In P2, Levi Jennings. And P3, Alex Hansen. Congratulations to the podium there. Your winner for the silver drivers, Rob O'Rourke. And your rookie winner, Jag Flores. Congratulations to all of the drivers tonight. What an incredible race this was tonight. I'm actually starting to lose my voice. I hope you all had as much fun as I did. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to keep up to date on our races and maybe even like to join one of our races, you can find us at discord.gg/Odyssey Racing League. You can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/Odyssey Racing League. Go ahead and hit that like and follow button, hit that little bell notification as well, so you know that when we go live, all of our races are streamed live here on YouTube. And we try to bring you as much fun and as much action as we can. Again, this is the end. Season 16, Round 4 of GT Americas. At the very wet, slip and slidey Hungaroring. please join us next week as well. Round 5 is going to be at the very beautiful and very sunny Brands Hatch. We're going to be going back to England. And then for round 6, it's going to be a 1-hour race. So 60 minutes of non-stop racing action for round 5. And then the following week, round 6, it is the driver voted track. The drivers are going to be allowed to vote on the final track for the final race of the season. And that is it for my time here in the commentator booth. Thank you so much for joining us here at Odyssey Racing League. My name is Christian Julian. I also go by Koju. Have a great rest of your day.
Invincible.
Bye.